On this episode, we are discussing the long, dark tea time of the soul.
That's quite good, that.
Hello and welcome to TGI Monday. How are we all doing this week? How are your arms doing?
All right, yeah, not too bad. I've got full movement now and I've been discharged and everything, so there you go.
Amazing.
But every day, because I'm building up my strength, I'm feeling like I've played a full game of rugby. But I am doing...
Are those your dumbbells in the office?
No, yeah, someone give them to me.
Yeah,
Give 'em to me. And it's like that, and I'm like, you are? So I'm on bean tins, I'm working back. I'm on lean in 15 with Joe Wicks now.
Lean and 15.
Lean in 15.
And I'm slightly feeling like the odd one out. Everyone's in their black shirts. Are we all off to some funeral later that I don't
No, it's just
know
a
about?
covert sort of bullying we're doing.
That's
Okay,
right.
Yeah.
good. Just to make me feel special.
It's the medieval theology of the priesthood. We're all
Yeah,
much
yeah,
higher
yeah.
than
We're just trying to
Okay.
intimidate you.
Very
Yeah.
good.
They're very
Well,
dark
Really
souls,
scary.
these three.
Well, that's it, which leads us on nicely to our question this week. Someone's asked this anonymously, and just to say that's absolutely fine. If you've got a question that you'd like us to discuss, but you'd rather not have your name with that, just let us know, and that's not a problem at all. So this is the question: what is the soul, and what happens to it when we die? What is the soul, and what happens to it when we die? Who'd like to start by that? What do we think the soul is? Zoe, why don't you start?
The soul is the bit of us that isn't the bit that we see quite often. It's the bit of us that's moved by, well, all sorts of different things. It's a really hard thing to describe, but it's the thing that makes us us, actually. It's the thing that leaves us. So if you're with somebody when they die, which many of us will have been, it's the thing that changes them from looking like they're asleep to being dead.
Yeah.
And it's very hard to measure. You couldn't photograph it. It's far, far more spiritual than that. And people of all faiths and none can experience that in the moment. And I think starting with experience on this stuff is very helpful, because there's lots of references to soul in the Bible, and Mary singing, my soul magnifies the Lord. But it's something that is about those deepest, most human parts that is a very spiritual thing.
You see it the other way around as well, or in birth, isn't it? When my wife was pregnant with Andrew, I was the ultimate bore because I specialised in reproductive physiology.
Oh, lovely.
So I still had my old physiology books.
Not
so I was
during
there
the
like,
birth, though, please.
No. It was
I
just
bet
during
she
the
was
pregnancy.
thrilled.
No, just during the pregnancy.
What's happening now, love, is...
No, just during the
Let me show
pregnancy.
you a
I was like,
diagram.
I was there like this. I was like, wait, no, we're on week 3 now, which means it's like this. And week 4. So I understood, right, as much as human beings can, the material growth
The stuff.
of the baby.
Yeah.
But when my son was born, for the first time perhaps, I had this experience of understanding that there was something more there than just meat. And I think it's the same when in death, where you have the soul is present and then leaves, and the person ceases to be human in a sense and becomes meat.
Yes.
And I think when you see the other side, you can see the difference between there is something more to humanity than just the material.
Yeah.
And
So
that's the thing that hits you inside, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
I think a helpful thing I found when thinking about this is just to understand the way the word is used in the Bible. So in the Old Testament, the word is nephesh, which means it means throat, and it's basically when you take somebody's throat out, you kill them.
Yeah.
And so it's used to mean the difference between life and death. And so then when it talks about, there were 1,000 souls saved on the ark or whatever it is, it just means 1,000 living beings, not actually even just human beings, but 1,000 living beings. So I think that helping to see the difference between a dead person and a living person, that is what the soul is. Now,
Breath of life,
what
isn't it?
that
And it's the bit that lives on, isn't it? And I think people tangibly experience it. That's the stuff that people want to be talking about.
Exactly. So that's the rest of the question, isn't it? What happens to it when we die? Dan, what do you think happens when we die?
There is a little bit of mystery in what happens when we die. The Bible it's clear. I like the way Tom Wright puts it, that what the Bible tells us are like signposts pointing beyond themselves into a fog. So that when we,
So that was clear there.
Yeah, you can see the signpost, but you don't quite know what that means.
That's right. We're only told so much. What we are told is we know that there will be a judgment. But when Jesus says to the thief on the cross next to him that today you will be with me in paradise, what he seems to be getting at is this is somewhere you're going before the resurrection.
Yeah.
And so there must be some kind of disembodied state.
Because his body will have still been right there, won't it?
And it is a time with Jesus. You will be with me in paradise.
Yeah.
And the book of Revelation does give us some pictures of the saints before the throne of God, praising and worshipping before the altar of God in heaven.
And the martyrs, the souls of the martyrs hidden under the altar.
That's
as well.
right. It's amazing.
Yeah.
That's the signpost. It's not going to be like that. It's a signpost, a picture pointing beyond itself into something amazing. And we know God's going to be there. But however, the Bible also talks about it makes the body more important actually than simply the soul itself.
Yeah.
So what will happen is that we will be raised again. There'll be a resurrection, and then we will live in our resurrected bodies for eternity. We don't spend eternity in our soul. It's not like we have our body for 70 years and we can forget all about it.
Floating around.
That's
We get a new body.
we get a new body.
So
and
what you're saying is there's a period between death where there's just the soul waiting for the resurrection, but a conscious soul waiting for resurrection.
That's right.
And then there's a bodily resurrection later.
That's right.
Exactly.
And we're not going to be in heaven for eternity. Heaven is where God is now, but in the future there will be a fusing of heaven and earth.
Yeah.
So it's still, I often think to myself, I think on some level we're going to be surprised at how normal it feels,
I agree, actually.
and how like this it feels.
How familiar everything is.
Yeah.
I think the thing is, though, if you look, say, this picture by you is the one from is where you have Adam is this guy, and there's Eve, and Jesus takes them by the hand and raises them up to be with him in the new heaven and new earth for all eternity. And the person tied up here is death. And then there's the cross,
Yes,
and
he's bound.
that's right. It's destroyed, and he takes them out from the place of the dead into the new heaven and the new earth.
Yes.
So the resurrection, and remember with Jesus' resurrection, is he is a human being, so he eats and he talks and you can touch him and so on. So he's got a body, right? But it's not like the body that we have. So it's the same but different. And
Teleportation. That is what I'm
weird,
really
yeah.
looking
Well,
forward
I
to.
don't know about that. Like.
But that's in Acts when
Philip gets taken away.
Gets put
I'm
teleported.
really excited about that.
But the thing is with it all, though, is the key thing here is we see flashes of that in our own experience now, to do with things being the same but different in a way which you can't perceive. And that's what birth and death are about.
Yeah.
Where the physical being is there, but in a way beyond us, it's more than just the physical.
I should have brought a picture of it, and I didn't. I wonder if any of you have seen the Stanley Spencer paintings of the resurrection. They're sort of set in an ordinary English churchyard, and people coming out of the graves, and they look like normal people.
I've seen them, yeah.
And it really brings it home, just what you were saying, Dan, about how familiar it will seem, and you can sort of see, they're just wearing ordinary clothes, and they look like, people you would see down the street, and that is what it will be like. Our bodies will be recognisably us.
But we see flashes of that in our world now, don't we? Like, so if you imagine a wonderful experience of a family meal where you get together and all the relationships are working well and all the rest of it, and you have a really wonderful time and our soul within us sings with joy, right? That's what heaven is. And that's what our destination is where all things, all relationships are made new once again.
Great. I think that's a great place to finish that. It's, if you're a Christian, knowing what your soul, where your soul is going, where we are going, body and soul, should be a great source of comfort and joy and hope for you.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like us on Facebook, share with your friends, YouTube, website. Make sure you're sending us your questions.
These are pearly gates, by the way.
That is really bad.
That is dreadful.
I hope your puns improve after the resurrection.